All right, how's everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning into the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? So what I want to call today's podcast is, are you half-assing life and not even know it? So I think a lot of people out there are half-assing stuff. And I know, because I'm one of these people, and I'm surrounded by a lot of people I know that do it as well. And again, we're all going to have times where we're kind of got a lot of energy, and then other times when we're just half-assing stuff, right? And the reason I came up with this title was, I shot a video yesterday. It was for my YouTube, and it was about half-assing it in the gym, where I don't think most people realize how much they're half-assing it. Now, I'm not telling people to go inside of a gym and train like you got to be a bodybuilder, power lifter. If you're playing a mainstream sport, like you got to train like you're going to, like you got to play professional sports or whatever, any of that to the extreme. But I do think a lot of us could be getting a lot more out of our life, workout, or whatever if we kind of didn't half-ass it as much as we are. We don't want to admit it. I got a buddy who's got a PhD, and I remember I worked out for many, many years, pretty hardcore, and I used to always get really good results. And then I realized for a while I wasn't. And I said to him, what the hell's going on? Like, it's just not, like, my body's not reacting to it the way it was, and, I'm just not getting the type of workouts I was getting before. And he goes, because we're half-assing it. And it kind of punched me right in the face, and I said, he's absolutely right. I have kind of fallen into a rut and a routine where it's just, I was working out, but I was not getting nearly the type of workouts I was getting before. Now, why wasn't I getting them? Because I was either too lazy, truthfully, I got bored, caught in a rut. And that's when I truly started, for one, visiting different style gyms, which I needed that to boost. For me, it just worked better. I liked trying out different gyms, different equipment, different vibe, different people. And then I started to try different workouts every time I went to the gym. So this was mainly bodybuilding. And to this day, I still never do the same type of workout, which has helped me. And I think maybe if we look at that in life too, we kind of keep doing the same thing over and over again. No wonder we're kind of half-assing it, right? There's nothing new to discover. Let me get some water here. It kind of becomes like a Groundhog Day. I'm going to be doing a podcast with my girlfriend. I think it's going to be called, Life is a Rerun. And I think that's what happens with a lot of us, and we don't want to admit it, is we set our life up to get comfortable and safe, which is understandable, right? I mean, that's what a lot of us do. But I think what happens, too, we become too comfortable and too lazy. And again, I'm not telling you that you have to run out. If you're not interested in becoming a millionaire, that you got to go kill yourself. And work hundreds of hours a week, hypothetically, or whatever you want to do, that you have to kill yourself or take it to the extreme. But I do think a lot of people have a lot more potential to do things, but they don't believe that they can do them. They just don't. And I just did a podcast that I uploaded regarding creating a podcast. And a lot of people hit me up and say, man, how do you do this? How do you have a YouTube channel, do that, work, travel? The truth is, a lot of things are a lot simpler than you'd think, but we make them complicated, or we're just not willing to learn something new. And I'm one of these people. I'll tell you 100%, like when my partner Omar, my buddy, who partners up with my podcasts, with me and my YouTube stuff, he's the one who kept telling me, do a YouTube channel, do a podcast. I'm like, who the hell wants to hear from me or see what I'm doing? He's like, dude, you're everywhere. You got all these things to say, and I think people might like it. So he actually went and showed me, we did it together, but he was showing me how simple it was, like, to set up a YouTube channel, and how simple it really was to do a podcast. And I didn't really realize, I'm not going to get into this now, you could listen to the podcast, but, life sometimes, you could do a lot of cool things as long as you kind of simplify them. And that's exactly what I did with the podcast, because, for instance, I thought creating a podcast would be very expensive. It would take so much time. I had to have all this type of equipment. I'd have to schedule all these different types of things to do. And the truth was, I didn't. I could create whatever I wanted to create. I could put in as much effort as I wanted to put in. And it wasn't like, see, I shot movies for a couple damn decades. I made a couple films, and I wrote a couple books. And it's so time-consuming. So what I started to program myself with was everything took forever. It took multiple years, which they do, some things. Like I'm creating an app called the You Around, and it's an app to help people time of a need. That I thought would only take me a couple years. I was obviously wrong. Now, maybe if I was a multimillionaire and I had a lot of money, I would have been able to create it a lot quicker, but I don't. But again, back to half-assing things, I just think we come up with excuses, too, why we don't do things that we want to do or get creative. And I think a lot of it has to do with money. I 100% get it, right? A lot of things do take money, but I've discussed this before on my podcast. A lot of things that you're going to enjoy in your life doesn't take nearly as much money as you think. And things that are very expensive, which I have been fortunate enough before to make a lot of money and have spent money on a lot of things, including homes, cars, travel, lifestyle. It's all great. If you want to experience that, God bless, go kick it in the ass and do it. Everyone should do it if you want to, in my opinion, if you want to do it, obviously. But at the end of the day, a lot of times, you become fatigued and burnt out on that like you get burnt out on anything else, I could assure you. A lot of people wish to travel until they're always traveling. Then they're like, oh my God, I just want to go back. I just want to rest. Instead of, after you visit all these different types of places, and I get it, you got a bucket list. And, some people, I have people in Chicago, and they're always like, I got to go here. I got to go there. I got to do that. I got to get out of here. It's freezing. It's cold. It's rainy. It's dark. It's all these things. I got to try. I says, why don't you just move to a warmer climate? Maybe there's something very simple in your life that's a game changer. I'm just using this for an example. If you're always trying to escape sometimes where you're at, and don't get me wrong, I know we all want to learn different things, and traveling is wonderful, but a lot of times we do things to escape the reality that we're in. Maybe it's something as simple as, like I just said, maybe moving to a warmer climate, because I realized living in a cold and a warmer climate, and I traveled a ton, I was traveling a ton, that when I was leaving Florida, all the time, I was kind of upset because I knew I was usually going into, a city or a state that didn't have the same type of weather or as good of weather that I liked. I like tropical weather, or I like San Diego weather. So every time I left, I'd leave sun and go into dark. And a lot of times it was very cold, especially Canada or places like Alaska and things like that. When I lived in Chicago and traveled, I was kind of always excited to get out and go somewhere else, almost regardless where it was at, because usually it was warmer wherever I was going. But then coming home, I realized I was always upset and miserable because it was kind of the flip. And the only reason I bring that up again is back to half-assing it. A lot of times our surroundings, could be our jobs or where we live, is kind of holding us back. We don't want to admit it. And I think people are almost ashamed. But I'll tell you straight out, when I'm in a warm climate compared to a cold climate for me, I'm two different people, man. I almost lock down when I'm in a cold climate. I just hate going outside. I'm freezing. I'm not an outdoorsman. So I'm not going to be hunting, ice fishing, snow skiing, hypothetically snowboarding. It's just not my thing. Now, can I go snowboarding and snow skiing or whatever? Yeah, of course I can. But truthfully, it's just not my thing. I like to be in warm weather, and I think a lot of other people do as well. Obviously, is why they're always, not always, but a lot of people like to go to warm climates to go vacation. Go live your goddamn vacation. I used to say, I moved to Florida. Well, I started coming here for summer school at 13, 14 years old. My father moved here. And I used to say my spring breaks never ended. And then I saw, I see license plates in Florida, and they have a guy holding a surfboard, and it's called Summer Never Ends. And I said, exactly. That's why I moved here. And then when I left Florida, the only place I really wanted to live was San Diego, which I lived there for a while as well. Loved it. That's just me. But when you live in a warm climate, let's just say, for instance, nothing can stop you from doing something throughout the day, usually. Unless it's a hurricane, maybe a tornado, or bad weather. But for the most part, and I've discussed this before, Florida, California, a lot of times, we get like 300 good days. We get like 65 bad. A lot of parts of the country, especially the Midwest, even the East Coast, they get like, 65 to, it could be 100 good days. I used to say for Chicago, 300 bad. There's no way you're going to find better weather than obviously Florida and California. And I get Florida has humidity. People complain, but the winters are awesome. California's a little on the cooler side. Immaculate weather, Southern California. Hard to beat. Let me get some water here. Just something to think about. And so half-assing it, that's kind of what, even if I'm in New York, which I'm in quite often, or any major city, for some reason, I get stuff done, but I also stay indoors a lot more. And I think sometimes being indoors for me, and this may happen to you, is, and I think because we become more and more, addicted to television because they have so much more to offer. And I don't watch a ton of TV, mainly just sports, but I have YouTube. But if I'm at home, I'm on the computer. But it seems like if I'm in a warmer climate, I'm on the go. But also, even if I'm not, I have to set up things to do to keep me moving. And that's one of the things why I love traveling, because I'm always on the go, and I need that. I'm that type of person. But it doesn't necessarily mean I'm always getting things done for myself. And I think that's one of the things that was kind of cool when traveling, when I decided to do YouTube videos and the podcast, was I can incorporate that into my travel. Before, when I was traveling a lot, I was writing books. Before that, I was writing screenplays. So on the airplane, for the most part, I don't watch television or watch things because I don't like the audio. I can't hear it very well. And I kind of get sleepy on an airplane, so I'd rather just sleep. But I do like getting work done. I love reading, which kind of puts me to sleep, but not always. And then I love typing and getting something done. And that's, like I was saying, writing scripts, writing my book. And now I write a lot of content for YouTube and my podcast. And I did fall into a thing there, back to half-assing it, when I was done with my books and I didn't do YouTube or podcast. All I really was doing was traveling and just kind of sitting on an airplane a lot of times. And I would go on the internet and I would watch YouTube videos, or sometimes I would read or try to learn Italian. That's something I've always was doing, but I definitely realized I was half-assing it. I mean, just my life in general. Even though I was going to all these different places, I really wasn't accomplishing much for myself. Now, for work, I don't mess around. I'm going to kick it in the ass. No matter what has to be done, I get it done. No matter where it's got to be done, I'm going to go get it done. You're not going to stop me. I don't care what it takes. I usually will get to my destination. That goes for blizzards below what I was just in Edmonton. It was 47 below. I think it was the coldest place on the planet for the weekend I was there. I didn't care. And I hate cold weather. I'll fly in there and I will get out, but I will get there. I don't care if I got to drive there. I don't care if I have to fly there. You're not going to stop me a lot of times. Now, obviously, if it's Europe or certain places that I have to fly to. But if it's in the continental United States, I'm going to get there, right? Continental? Yeah. But I don't want to get long-winded with this. But if you're just, please, pay attention to your lifestyle. Become self-aware. A lot of times you may want to do something and you just got to learn how to become creative and go do it. Don't waste time, man. There's not always another day, right? There may be another day in your life, but you may not physically feel the same way after a certain day. You could get in an accident, or there could be life-altering things going on that can stop you, and you don't want to regret not doing what you truly wanted to do at one time or another in your life. So, yeah, stop half-assing your life. Again, it doesn't have to be the most amazing life in the world. You don't have to destroy yourself chasing money or any of those type of things, but really pay attention to your life and try to get the most out of it, or at least the most that you want out of it, is what I should say. So I'm going to wrap it up there. If you get a chance, check out my YouTube channel. It's just Rich CELENZA. I got my website too, same name. And I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. All right? All right, take care. And if you're traveling, safe travels.